Right, Alejandro, I appreciate you joining the show here. And
Of course.
really, I reached out to you because I know you've been doing a lot of really cool animation projects, and I'd really love to just hear that perspective, from an animator and your process and some projects that you've been working on and just your experience in that industry. I just really feel like it's very compelling and very interesting stuff. So, I really want to know, first question, how did you get into animation and what really prompted this interest of getting into this industry?
Of course. I would have to say, first off, I started off as a video editor. I worked in that field. I loved making videos and whatnot. And then right before I believe it was before I left for college, my mom wanted to do a trip because she's like, I'm not, you're not going to be in the house anymore. Let's go watch Toy Story 3 because that was around the time that it came out. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's go watch it. So I watched that movie and wow, man, that just Pixar hit me in there. But that didn't like say like, hey, I want to go do animation, but it started something in my head like I really like what they're doing here. So I went, I did video and whatnot. And then it wasn't until like I was 26 that I got bored of video. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I want to do something else. So I went to a community college class that was a general animation class or 3D environment. So they taught you how to model things. They taught you how to light things in virtual world, and then a little bit of animation. And that little bit he taught me just was like, oh my gosh, I really love this. So then that was in New Jersey. So I asked the professor, I was like, hey, I want to continue this. What do you recommend me to do? And he goes, well, depending on what kind of work you want to do you want to work at Pixar? Or do you want to do like video games? And I was like, I would love to work for Pixar. He's like, then you need to leave New Jersey and you have to go to California. So I've never actually lived outside of New Jersey till then, but I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make this trip. And I came out here and it was a journey. It was a great journey, had a lot of great memories. I did start taking classes, and then when I moved here in 2016, it actually took me about 5 years to finally get my first job.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, the whole journey was incredible though.
How was that transition, I guess, from New Jersey to California? Probably being away from your family and, really trying to chase something that you love in the process. How was that transition?
It was it was tough, I'll be honest. It was really tough because like you said, yeah, leaving my family. We always lived so close together, so the fact that I'm now 3,000 miles away and literally on my own was really tough. But thankfully, my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend, we she decided to come with me. So we both decided to do the same journey as well. So we both tried to find work out here and she got lucky. She's a graphic designer, so she had a lot of opportunities. For me, I needed the experience for animation, so I had to do all these side jobs of that had nothing to do with animation, but it helped me fund all the classes I needed to take. And because of that, I was able to network in the field. And then I got very lucky because I went to Animation Collaborators, which is a very great online school that taught me everything I know about animation. I met a few people. They were like, "Hey, you should come join our side project. We're making a little movie, and you'd be a great asset. We might not be able to give you the amount of work that you would like, but it's a good learning experience in animation." And I said, "Yeah, of course." And because of that little job, uh, 3 years later, so that was 21, 2019. So that was in 2019, I did the project. They made the movie. And then in 2021, one of my old coworkers of that project posted up on Facebook just saying, "Hey, my company needs some animators. Is there anyone out there that would be interested?" And I didn't think Facebook would be a place where you would actually find a job. So at that time, I was applying. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give this a shot. So I messaged him and he goes, okay, send me your resume. And I'm like, okay. So I send him my resume. There's not much animation work in there. And then he's like, okay, you have an interview tomorrow at like 1. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get myself ready and everything. Unfortunately, I had to do it on my iPad and I had to do it in the bedroom because my wife was working outside. And the interview was about like 20, 30 minutes. I was super nervous. I'm sweating. And then I tell him everything, and then I end the interview with a lot of people say that was a risky thing to say. I basically said, I wanted to first thank you guys for at least letting me interview with you. I've been applying for about 3 to 4 years and never had a chance like this. So even if you don't accept me, thank you. This was a wonderful learning experience. And then it was just like, oh, okay. That was like the call ended. So I go to my wife afterwards and I'm like, I didn't get it. I truly did not get it. And then the next day I got an email saying, hey, we really liked you and we want to bring you on board. Can you start the following week? And I just was like, jumping for joy. Finally did it.
That's great that you were able to get that role too. I can only imagine the amount of elation and joy that you felt. So I think I mean, I feel like that's a championship in life to me.
Oh yeah.
So man, that's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
Um, and so, kind of transitioning to the next question and,
Mhm.
as you're working there, what were some of the more, fascinating projects?
Of course. So the company was Halon Entertainment, and they do a lot of pre-production and post-production animations for different films, TV shows, commercials. So the ones that really stuck out to me was I did a lot of pre-production for Aquaman 2. So I did a lot of cut scenes of what Aquaman would be doing in different fight scenes and whatnot, or chase scenes. And that one was probably my highlight because that was my first film credit, so I got my name on there. But the other small ones were great too. So I worked on Red Notice, which came out in Netflix, and I worked on this car chase scene in the cave, and that one was a lot of fun because I learned a lot on that one. That was my first project there, and then I would say the next one was when Facebook released their Messenger app has a new plugin where you can actually like watch videos or movies together with someone else on the call. They wanted a promo video, so we made that was a pre-production, so we made some videos on that, and that one was actually a lot of fun because they just wanted to like explore new ideas on how to like connect people through video, and my supervisor at the time had so many great ideas, and it was just really cool to take his ideas and put it into 3D so that we can try to pitch it to the client. And they out of the three videos we made, I think they took two of his ideas, which was
Mhm.
awesome. So I was able to help with that. So those were great.
Yeah, it sounds like all, great experiences. And I can only imagine, especially working on Aquaman and some of those bigger projects, what your thought process was. You're working with these big, movies, that's got to be something that's really hits home at you. This really resonates with you and really gives you so much fulfillment and happiness, I could imagine, working on those types of projects. So that's great. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then kind of getting into my next question, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but what were some, learning points during your experience as an animator?
Yeah. The so first was trying to work in like learn how to work in a working environment, and it was all through online, so like doing through Zoom and remotes. So I was trying to figure that out, which uh funny story is my first day, I accidentally deleted an entire folder off the company like file storage or whatever. I was trying to grab a file and do something that they taught me, and I accidentally deleted it. So it was so tough to email my supervisor and go, hey, because I started seeing messages going like, hey, this asset isn't working, this asset isn't working. And I'm like, oh man, that was me. So I emailed him, and he just starts laughing at me. And he goes, don't worry about it. We do backups every 4 hours. So we'll just revert back to the last backup and just don't do it again. And I was like, oh, because I thought I was going to get fired, honestly.
Hmm.
So that was my first day there. That was rough. And then learning that whole process. But I think the biggest challenge, which actually made me a better animator and a better employee for the company, was that I had to learn software as I went. Like it wasn't just an animation software. I had to learn like visual effects software, rendering software, because when they would come to me, they would be like, what are your skills? And I'm like, I'm always an animator. That's my strongest skills. And they're like, okay, well, we don't have that many projects right now for animation. Is there anything else that like we have some rendering projects, we have some visual effects projects. Like if you know anything on that, maybe we can bring you on there. And I always said, yes, I can do it. Don't worry, I can do it. Knowing in my head that I have no idea what I'm doing, but if I tell them yes, I'll learn it. So while I was doing these projects, I'm researching like crazy, figuring out, hey, this is what they're asking me to do. How do I do it? Or I would just start asking my coworkers until I started getting it. And then it was just like, oh, okay, I can do all this. And then they started seeing how much I knew, and that's when my projects just continued to grow. I was like, oh, this is great. So the one thing that my a friend of mine, Sorme, and I who worked there, she makes fun of me all the time was because whenever a project started, I was there, but I was never at the end of it because I was always pulled to the next project because of I just all the new skills I started learning. They were just like, Alex is really good at like all these things. Perfect. Let's bring him in here and let's have him start helping. So that's the biggest challenge, but I'm so blessed that I'm able to do that.
You had me thinking because you were talking about how you had to learn a lot of these new different types of software on the fly. What was like the ramp up process like?
It was basically like on the go. So as soon as you join the project, they're like, okay, here's what I need you to do. Go ahead and do it. And in the beginning, it was tough. So what I would do is I would I had a very good friend of mine that thankfully worked on a lot of my projects, or I would just message them on the side and I said, hey, here's my list of assignments. I just need I just need some helpful tips on how to do this. And we would take the easiest one first, and then they would just say, "Hey, this is what you do this, this, this." And what I would do is I would screen record. I don't know if we were allowed to do it, but I did it anyway. I screen recorded what they were doing so that when I continued on my work, I would go back to those screen recordings and go, "Oh, okay, he did this, I need to do this. This is how you adjust." And then from there, it just started going like, oh, each project, all right, I'm going to start doing these. And then I need to move on to this one that I need to learn a little bit more, but okay, I'll go there. And then leave the harder ones towards the end. And that's kind of how I went through it to the point where I finally got the ideas down on what I needed to do, and I just didn't need any more screen recording, and I just started doing it. I was like, all right, I see this shot. I can read what they need me to do. I'm just gonna go ahead and just start doing it.
Yeah, there's some themes that have been kind of sticking out to me as you're talking about the narrative that story is just the entrepreneurship and just the diligence that you had, to and the adaptability in that situation as well. I think some people may not be comfortable in a very kind of adaptable environment like that where you have to learn things on the fly and you have to, figure out something very quickly. And at the same time, you're still strengthening that process when it comes to getting to the end goal of your project too. You're still going in a pretty strong direction there as well. So I think being able to be adaptable and still being able to proceed and knock out those projects well, and then having the mindset to be collaborative as well to assist in that process as well is those are really great nuggets to hear. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
And something you said right there is just the fact of being open to ask for help is
Yeah.
so important. I know
Hmm.
there's a lot of people out there that just are scared to because it's a new job. I'm like, no, you can't do that. You gotta go ask for help. It helps so much.
So kind of getting to my next question, what have been some challenges in, the animation space that you've had to contend with, and how have you been able to overcome and get past those challenges?
So we talked about the ones at work and everything and trying to challenge those. I think the other big one was that I was unfortunately let go in January due to the industry and how all these strikes are happening. And it's been tough. It's because a lot of these jobs, just even for an entry level, they're looking for someone with like 5 years of experience. I unfortunately only have 2.5. So it hurts a bit. seeing that because you apply and then you just keep getting rejection letters, rejection letters. So that's been kind of tough, but the way I've been going through it is, and I've seen it through a lot of people, is like, okay, I understand it's tough right now. I can't just keep sitting here like, doubting myself, all that kind of stuff. I need to just keep going. So, I'm kind of doing exactly what I did at work. I'm now learning even newer software out there on my side, on the side, because I feel like that will hopefully help me get a new job. And then also accepting the fact that I need to go work somewhere else that isn't animation. So I'm working at a restaurant right now. I have to do it because you have to support the house, but you don't want to just sit here and just, not do anything. So I've accepted the fact that maybe at this time there's no work for me. That's okay. I'm not giving up because I'm still animating when I'm not working at the restaurant, and I'm still praying to hopefully get that job. Because funny, my wife asked me this question, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and it really hit home. She basically was like, what's the one job that you've had so much fun that you could go in and it doesn't feel like work? And I've done a lot of things in my life, and I have to say, I think it's truly animation. Animation to me is just, it's not work, it's fun. So I'm like, why would I give up on that? I can't. So one day I'll get that job again, but right now I got to take another step and do something else, but I'll be back there.
Absolutely. You're definitely going to be back there, man, and really appreciate you sharing that as well. And I love the insight that you shared there as far as, well, I may not be working, in that space right now. I'm getting there, but I'm going to learn these different skill sets too. I'm going to learn these different whatever it's, if it's software, if it's attending some type of workshop or whatever it is, I'm going to learn a different skill set. I'm going to put that on my resume. I'm going to put that in my within my skill set, and I'm going to
Hmm.
keep improving. I'm going to keep, growing as an animator. And I love that that's a growth mindset. You want to continue to keep growing. And I love the fact that he's like, this is me. Animation is me. It's not a job. This is something that I just love to do for fun. And you're still chasing that. You're still doing your best to get back there, which I know you're going to get back there because you have an intrinsic passion for animation. You can't beat that. So I really appreciate you sharing that powerful story. So just transitioning over to the next question, what inspirations, outside of the animation space allow you to give you that inspiration to be a great animator?
I think the greatest inspiration that I have are basically, I would have to say my parents for sure. Because when I was a kid, they were always about, you have to work something through, you have to get through it, keep going. And then just the support they would give me too on anything was just like, hey, you're good at this. You just have to, just try. Don't believe in yourself and whatnot. And I'm now seeing their values as an adult and just seeing like, wow, I have to respect them even more. And they supported me with all my life changes and everything. So I don't want to let them down, even though I know there's really not much I can do to let them down. But I feel like in with my work and me succeeding and whatnot, I wouldn't want to let them down. So they're one big one. And then the other one, which also hits very hard, is my wife's great uncle who lived in California with us. He passed away, unfortunately. But the conversations we had, the thing of him bringing me into their family was great. But whenever we would go out to dinner, he would always say hello, and then the first question he would always ask is, "Are you still working in animation?" And I would go, "Yes." And he's like, "That just brings me so much joy." So it's like, how can you not like, feel it right there? And it's like, oh man, I I'm doing great here. People are there supporting me. They're inspiring me to keep going. Yeah, love it.
Oh man, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing that as well. And I don't want to take any more time from you. I really appreciate you showing up here and connecting with me and
Of
really sharing
course.
your great story about animation, how you got into it, and just all of the things that you're doing as well to keep going and get back to getting another role, which I know you're gonna get there shortly and get there soon
Thank you.
enough. So, anything else that you want to share, or do you want to plug anything or any social media that you want to get out there?
Actually no, she would kill me for this. Sorme, my old coworker and friend in animation, we also do a podcast out there that just talks about animation. So we're called the Crispy Animator Podcast. That's cool. And then no, thank you again for having me. I love this, and I want to tell everyone that listens to your podcast or shows, don't give up. Just keep going. It's okay to do other jobs that you don't feel like are up to your skills. You'll get there one day. Believe it.